Packers at the Vikings. This is sitting at 2.5 at DraftKings, shaded a little bit towards the Vikings. We're looking at a total of 45 over at DraftKings, over at FanDuel, 2.5, and that's on 110 on both sides. So you're not having to pay any sort of shaded number there on this one. Guys, everybody seems to be down on the Packers, and you kind of look at what they did in the offseason, Brett, and this was something that we kind of picked apart with this team when we were looking at this division as a whole. They did nothing to help Aaron Rodgers at all. They used their first-round pick on a quarterback to replace him. They used their second-round pick on a running back, the one position they were actually kind of okay at on the offensive side of the ball. They really needed a number 2 for Devontae Adams because, I mean, as good as this guy is, you would like to think that eventually teams are just going to say, we're going to double team this guy. If you want to beat us with Marquez, Valdez, Scantling, or Alan Lazard or whatever, if you want to beat us with those guys, go right ahead. The big news, of course, on the Viking side of the ball, they did trade Stephon Diggs to your Bills that we talked about a little bit earlier. They drafted Justin Jefferson to come in and try and fill that void there. 2.5 is how we sit right now. Vikings favored at home.
Yeah, you have to pay a little juice on the Vikings if you like the 2.5, but I think it's worth it. It should just be 3. I'm going to be fading the Packers at all costs here early in the season, coming off the luckiest season we've seen in some time. 8-1 in one-score games. They were third in turnover margin. Minnesota rated out better in every metric I've seen. I mean, they were better at Pro Football Focus. They were better at Football Outsiders DVOA. The Packers did nothing, like you said, to help Aaron Rodgers this year. They drafted a backup quarterback and a backup running back in the first 2 rounds. How does that make them better this year after they got slaughtered in the NFC Championship game last year? It's just baffling stuff from this organization. And I like the Vikings as a more prepared unit with a better coach coming into this one. They bring back every offensive player who played at least 200 snaps last year outside of Josh Klein and Stephon Diggs. They have a run-focused offense with Gary Kubiak now at the helm. And how did you beat the Packers last year? You ran the football. The 49ers showed that. It was actually pretty easy. I mean, they are just so leaky against the run. So I expect a big game here at Dalvin Cook and the Vikings to kind of maybe not run away with it, but I think this is going to be an easier win than the 2.5 shows.
Well, Brad, we talked about how we would be trying to target teams with continuity. The Packers have continuity, but it's on the bad side of things here. It's like it's all the same guys as last year on a team where we were going, God, if he only had some help. Like, man, if this guy only had some help, maybe we wouldn't be talking about wasting all these years with one of the, as far as like pure arm talent quarterbacks we've ever seen in Aaron Rodgers. But this organization continues to not give him what it seems like it needs to get it over the hump here, and they did it yet again. And we enter another season where there are a bunch of question marks, a bunch of holes here. And as Brett mentioned, they were on the right side of variance last year when it comes to everything. Do you feel like that starts coming back down to earth here?
Well, we have some disagreement at last.
All right, here we go.
Back the Packers.
I like it. Here we go.
I'll back the Packers money line. I just think they have quite big edges on both sides of the line of scrimmage. I think there was a reason they won both games against the Vikings last year. So just starting with the Packers offensive line, it's fourth best in the NFL by Pro Football Focus grades last year. And basically, if they can nullify the Vikings pass rush, like the Vikings back end is nothing. It was awful last year. They brought in 3 new corners, rookies. They're going to just throw everyone out there and see what sticks. That's the opposite of continuity on the back end. And if your pass rush isn't getting home against this Packers O-line, we worry about the Packers weapons, but basically I'm worried if Devontae Adams is hurt, then what's next? Well, Adams is out there. They've got the running backs. And if they have time, I think Rodgers will find him. And then on the other side of the ball, you've got these 2 great Smith pass rushing brothers against the 23rd best offensive line in the NFL, the Vikings there. So if they get down at all and now they force Kirk Cousins to drop back without play action, without screens or whatever, I think he's just going to get sacked. So
that is a concern.
Yeah. My concern is that the Vikings run the ball well and get up early, and that they're not forced to drop back like that. But also, we saw last year the Packers were very good early in games. The script that Matt LaFleur put together was effective. A lot of weeks. That's what they won so many first halves, and teams got back in it in the second. But I don't think the Vikings are built to come back here. So I have the Packers around a 9-win team. I have the Vikings around an 8-win team. I just made some value on the Packers 2.3 or plus 130 around there, something like that.
So I don't have a play on this one. I will give you kind of my quick thoughts was that I was considering using the Packers as the kind of the second leg of that teaser that I talked about that I opened a little bit earlier, taking the Packers from that 2.5 up to 8.5. Ultimately decided on a different game as where I was looking to close the teaser out. I will say this: typically, I would not be looking at road team. I would prefer always a home team in a teaser that I'm looking at. I just tend to like the home teams when it comes to these teasers, but I don't think that this is something we really have to worry with moving forward. And you'll see my trend whenever I talk about the team that I did choose to kind of go with that. Listen, there's going to be no fans in Minnesota at all, 0 fans. So we did see on Thursday night there was a smattering of fans out there. You could hear them kinda-ish in the background, not really. Vikings going to have no fans whatsoever. So it's going to be an empty dome there, and we're going to have that in several different scenarios throughout the course of these games where home field advantage might not mean all that much in these first few weeks anyway, until these teams decide how they're going to go about this whole fan situation. The Vikings being one of those teams that decided they were going to go no fans whatsoever in the stands there. It's week 1. We don't have to worry about travel. Teams aren't coming off of a game at all or any of that. So home field advantage to me is, I'm not going to say non-existent in week 1 here in 2020, the COVID season of our Lord here, but I will say that it is far less for me here in week 1 of this. Not really playing that into a lot of my handicapping here.